It was only 25 degrees when I woke up this morning, but now it's 10 a.m. Temperatures climbed up to about 40 degrees. It's time to get these seedlings back in the greenhouse. Today is Saturday, March 20th, 2021. That means it's the first day of spring. The daffodils are a couple of weeks behind where they were this time last year. Looks like my sage survived the winter. Winter's over. It's time to take a look at my winter garden and see how we did. We didn't do as well as we did last year, but we had some successes. So let's take a look at 5 lessons we've learned from our winter garden in 2021. Lesson number 1 is you gotta grow Swiss chard. Of all the plants we grew over the winter, Swiss chard was the toughest. We had a lot of ice and snow this winter. Killed off all of my kale. But the Swiss chard was encased in ice, 3 inches thick, and it's still alive. Once the ice melted off, it started growing again. So, toughest plant for an unprotected garden space goes to Swiss chard. Lesson number 2 is the importance of keeping your plants warm in the winter. I didn't set up my flower house. Instead, this winter I used 2 garden-lined row covers. But they're not nearly as cold proof as the flower house is. If you look down in the corner, you can see that the wind blows up underneath the row cover and lifts the cover up on the frame, and that allows cold air to get in where the plants are. The row cover kept the ground from freezing, but it didn't provide the warmth that the flower house does, because the flower house has a frost seal that seals the enclosure to the ground so no wind can get inside. I didn't have to deal with moisture in the row covers because the air circulation in there keeps the interior space dry, but it doesn't provide the heat that the other enclosure does. Last winter, my best winter crop was black-seeded Simpson lettuce, but I didn't grow any this winter because I ran out of seeds, and I just got some more about a month ago. So I've got transplants that are ready to come out, but I don't have anything growing in the garden. What you see here is Tom Thumb and Grand Rapids leaf lettuce. And then also along the edge is Arugula. So this winter, Arugula gets the gold star for my most productive winter crop. It's a nice bunch. Last winter I talked about how much slower plants grow in the cold, but I've also noticed something else. This winter I lost 2 lettuce plants, and there are also a couple of lettuce plants in here that are much slower in growth than the ones around them. I've never noticed that before, but it appears that the cold weather just exacerbates the growth rate problem. Last winter I used an old sleeping bag and some polar fleece blankets to cover the flower house when temperatures dropped below 28 degrees. I didn't provide any additional protection this winter, and you can really see the difference if you go back and look at my Essentials of Winter Gardening video I did a year ago. There is some Japanese red mustard, some Swiss chard, and that cabbage plant I showed in my last video. There's also a couple of small lettuce plants and some arugula. Things definitely grew slower than last year. And the fifth lesson from my winter garden is just a reminder that you should keep on working outside even though it's cold. There's a lot to do. There's bushes and trees to trim, shrubs to prune. There's compost bins to fill. There's all kinds of work that you can't do in the spring when you're too busy. If you just do it in the winter, you'll be more prepared for the spring rush. So that's a wrap for my winter garden. It wasn't as productive as last year, and if you want to see how we did in the winter garden for 2020, just go back and look for 5 Essentials of Winter Gardening, 5 Lessons from My Winter Garden, and Winter Garden Chores videos from a year ago. That'll show what kind of success we can have if we work at it. But now it's time to look forward. It's spring. It's time to get the tomato seedlings started, pepper seedlings started. I've got transplants to move out, so it's time to get busy. Happy gardening, everyone. Now go make something grow.